Tiktakers, you may recall that in the first chapter of this Christmas dinner, things were really bad. Ticci Toby had set up Masky and Hoddie, who ended up tied to a chair and with an open wound in their side. The two, though they didn't say it verbally, were cursing themselves inside. How had they been so stupid as to trust a killer? It was clear that this invitation was a double-edged sword, but since they had a Slenderman in common, they were all hopeful that for once it wasn't all about killing and fighting. But they were there and they had to find a way to survive. Were they going to trust each other to defeat Ticci Toby, or were they going to act separately? They were both thinking about it as they analyzed everything around them. This in just 30 seconds because Ticci kept circling around their chairs. It was clear that he was up to something, so everyone was very alert. And suddenly, the voice begins to play again. I see you've already figured out that you're not friends and this is not a normal Christmas meal. Now it remains to find out how you're going to manage to get out of there alive. The three looked at each other and even Ticci Toby looked puzzled. That caught Masky's attention, who began to think that maybe he had simply defended himself. Maybe he didn't know what they were doing there either. But that he would have to find out later, because Ticci was determined to fool them. An unfamiliar voice came on this time. Let's get on with the game. One of the three of you knows what you're doing in this place. You must guess who it is. If you guess, I will confirm it and you will have to force him to talk. But I'm warning you that it will be difficult for him to do so. You have 20 seconds to think about it. The three of them turned to look at each other, but time was running fast and some of them still did not have a clear idea. After what happened, Masky and Hoddie said that Ticci Toby was the one who was aware of what was going on. Ticci said it was Hoddie who knew everything. No one gave them an answer. Everything was silent. Ticci was the only one who had his hands untied, but he still wasn't trying to kill his buddies. That was the strangest thing. Masky kept looking at Hoddie. He wanted to propose him to collaborate to get out of there. But he wasn't looking at him, so he had to make a slight noise to get his attention. He did it when Ticci was walking around the room. So Hoddie agreed, and they got as close together as possible. They were already quite close together, so the difference wasn't noticeable, but it did allow them to untie each other. Hoddie was the first to get free and then untied Masky. This with extreme care, so much so that Ticci Toby was not aware of anything until the other two pounced on him. Surprisingly, the two men who had tied them up had done absolutely nothing to prevent it. It was clear that it was in the organizers' plans that they would beat each other up. And the worst part was being taken by Ticci Toby, who was already bleeding all over his face and barely opening his eyes. Hoddie was totally out of control. He wanted to kill him, and that's why he kept hitting him. Ticci's face was completely disfigured, and he was no longer putting up any resistance. Then Hoddie got up and saw that Masky was sitting on the side of the table, crestfallen. "Shall we go?" he said. And then the voice came again. Well, Hoddie, so now you don't want to be a lone wolf anymore. Just so you know, you were wrong. The test was just this. Masky was aware that you were not to cooperate. He simply set you up, and you fell for it. Hoddie looked at his partner with fury in his eyes and didn't hesitate a moment to go after him. He grabbed him by the throat, ready to strangle him, but the latter pulled out a dagger and plunged it into him. At that moment, they saw how a shadow of a large man with long arms was projected on the wall. It was him, Slenderman, coming to see which of the two survived the Christmas dinner. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it. And if you want to see more Draw My Life videos, subscribe to our channel. See you in the next episode.